Hey everyone! So today I'm going to be talking to you about a new hobby I picked up in quarantine, and this is like a little unboxing because I'm going to show you everything I got in my kit. And of course, because I'm starting a craft, if anyone else has a cat, you know this is their cue to join in on the fun. So let's go ahead and get started. I found my kit on a website. It's currently out of stock, but if you just Google Snowgoose Bobbin lace kit, you'll be able to find other kits online as well. So the kit I got has these beaded wooden spangled bobbins, and the bobbins are those wooden pairs you see here with the colorful beads. They do make kits without the colorful beads, but as a beginner I found the beads very helpful for distinguishing the pairs as I was working through the patterns. Also, I'm just a fan of colors. Ooh, I hate kidding. So the kit came with these beautiful bobbins, a pin cushion for the pins, a little pricker to prick the patterns, two spools of thread. I got a light baby blue color and a white color. They do vary different colors, but I don't think you can select the colors that you want. It also came with a book that was very valuable because this is a pretty rare art form. Not a lot of people do it, even though it's been around since the 1600s. Not too many people do it today, so the book was very helpful in getting started for me. I'm a total beginner. I did a few crochets back in the day, and I have a half knitted sweater somewhere, so this was definitely a challenge for me, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to show you the process of basically the very first exercise that's included in this kit. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, also I forgot to mention they included this pillow made out of styrofoam because back in the day it actually used to be called pillow lace because that is how you form the patterns, using the pins on a pillow. It also used to be called bone lace because the wooden bobbins used to be carved from bone and ivory. So basically in the book it's going to tell you how many bobbins you're going to need for each pattern, and they referred to them as in pairs. So for the first pattern, I'm going to need 2 pairs of bobbins, which equates to 4 little wooden spools in total. The way you want to add the thread on is this I found a bit tricky, so I'll link the YouTube video that I used to get the yarn on. But essentially what you want to do is you want to make sure you have an even amount of yarn on each bobbin. So if the pattern calls for a yard of yarn per pair, oh, hey kitty, that means that you're going to want 1.5 feet on each wooden spool. Okay, so you want to wind it pretty tightly because you want it to keep the work nice and neat. And basically once you get to the middle point of your yarn, you're going to make this little figure 8 pattern, and then you're going to wrap it around your finger, and then you're going to poke the head of the bobbin through that loop. And what this does is it kind of keeps the lace taut, but it also makes it so that you can unravel it as you're working, and that's how you're going to add onto the yarn as you're moving down your pattern. And the way you know you've done this correctly is if you pick up your bobbins by the thread in the middle and they don't just like immediately start to unravel, that means you've closed it up correctly. So this is what we want. This very first pattern called for 2 pairs, so that's 1. And I picked the matching beads just to make it easier. So I'm going to do 1 more pair. This is the pillow they included with the cover. They do recommend putting like another type of fabric over the pillow just to protect it. I didn't think this was necessary because I do have a sewing machine, so if this one ever did get damaged, I feel like I could fabricate a new cushion cover. So basically what you want to do is you want to pin this template they included, and this template of exercises is basically the map for where your yarn goes and where the pins go. Something I found to be really helpful is even though they included this spreadsheet here, or like this paper here for the pattern, they also have a copy of this exact paper inside the book. So sometimes when I was working and I couldn't really see the numbers, I would actually refer back to the book and kind of refer back to exactly where my stitches were going, because sometimes the numbers do get covered, and so it's good to have and keep that nifty. So every pattern starts with these pins where you're going to hang the bobbins, and they recommend inserting them at an angle so that when you hang the bobbins, it just kind of keeps them nice and taut and neat, and it keeps them in one direction. I forgot to mention that also in the kit they included this little box of pins, which is the perfect number. I found I had more than enough, and a pricker for putting some of the pins into your pattern a lot easier. It's very important that each spool has the same amount of thread and that they kind of all hang equally from the bobbin. So even though this pattern only had 2 pairs of bobbins, it was important that once I hung them from the 2 pins, they hung from the equal distance from the pin, so that they're not kind of jagged. You want them to all hang evenly. So here I am adjusting them just to make sure they all hang evenly. And like I mentioned before, I've done a few like crochets back in the day, but this was like totally new to me, so like having my fingers work with something so thin and nimble was definitely new, but also very refreshing. I really enjoyed the exercises. It was very relaxing, and basically what this first exercise teaches you is no matter how complicated it looks, which trust me, they start to look very, very complicated, your brain only ever really has to worry about 4 bobbins at a time, so 2 pairs at a time. Even though you might have patterns with like 50 bobbins, you're only really having to worry about 4 at a time, and that definitely helps once you know that. And what I love about this kit is it breaks down the most common stitches you'll find throughout the pattern. So here I am inserting the pins and just working away. This was the very first exercise. I definitely referenced the book a bunch, so make sure you've got it nearby and handy. Definitely feel free to annotate it, write on this paper even, write in the book. The notes you make are important because, like I said before, it can get tricky. But these glass spangled bobbins make it very easy to tell, if your pairs are correct or if you've separated them too far along the way. They do make kits without the beads, but I find them to be very helpful. I did do a pattern where I used all 24 bobbins, and it did get a little bit tricky on the pillow, I'm not gonna lie, because the beads do kind of spread out quite a bit. But again, if you're a beginner like me, having those visual indications really helps a lot. Plus, they're super pretty, and it makes the experience all the more magical, and they make a nice sound when they kind of clink them together. So I finished the very first exercise. It looks like a friendship bracelet. I think it's cute. Good practice for the fingers and being very nimble, felt like a spider. I put the progress in my quarantine journal, and just to show you what an update looks like, this is lesson 5. Obviously, still got a lot of mistakes, but I'm learning and I've really enjoyed this hobby. So if you're interested, please subscribe because I'll be showing more tutorials on other patterns. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day.